Okay, good morning.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah.
So the caption today, it says the power of the mind. As we have explained, a person's mind has to rule over his emotions of the heart. Yeah? Meaning our heart is the one that feels jealousy, is the one that feels wow when he sees a woman, is the one that feels like, he's hurt by somebody, right? If you say something to him, it's the heart that feels it, and then the brain reacts. So he says, you must make sure that the brain rules over the heart, not the heart rules over the brain. Why? Because if the heart rules over the brain, every time you're gonna feel something, what's gonna happen? Boom! You're gonna start to you're gonna program your brain to do whatever he has to do. But when when your brain programs your heart or is control of your heart, then you could feel something, but you can say, "Hello, relax, calm down. It's okay," like this. It says, and the power of the mind is inestimable. Inestimable, meaning we underestimate the mind. There are people who can train their minds to the extent that they will not feel when their body's in pain. As we know, some of the Navy SEALs, some of the high-tech soldiers, they can control their mind to where in the freezing water they don't feel cold, to where in the heat they're not so hot, to where they're in pain but yet they're not. Why? Because they have that in control. It's interesting enough, we have a dentist over here, but whenever you give a Novocaine or whatever, it's in a way, the brain is like, turned off. The pain is probably really there. We just don't feel it.
That's not how it works.
No?
It's like a wire. Imagine the wire.
Yeah.
Then you just
Cut the wire.
You just block it.
Oh.
Right in the middle of the nerve, you block it.
From the brain, right? From the...
Yeah. The impulse comes.
Interesting.
But it just doesn't come to.
Wow. You see? So...
The impulse come there, but it's go through
It's
without
blocked.
feeling.
It's blocked. That's why it's called block. It's
Yeah.
called mandibular block. It's
Gotcha.
not a mistake.
Gotcha.
You're blocking the nerve.
Gotcha.
I had a boss, by the way. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I used to work in Chinatown before, so he knew the places. We just without understanding.
Just press it, right. So again, yeah. So the mind is a very powerful thing. In fact, just to make a little note on this, yesterday something happened to me and I got very, very scared. What happened? I have a customer. And this customer, about 2 years ago, he put a ring on layaway. Now, he paid already half the amount, but the other half he hasn't paid. He contacted me once on my business phone. I have a business cell phone and I have a personal phone. And he said, I'm having financial trouble, so and so. This was a while ago. Yesterday, now he never really contacts me on my cell, yeah? Although he has the number because one of my Zells is attached to my number. Yesterday, as we're closing, I saw this ring because I already put it out for sale. I saw the ring and I said to myself, I thought in my mind, you know what? Let me call him or let me text him to tell him maybe I can give him a better deal or something so we can get this thing already. Oh,
The item you didn't sell yet.
I didn't sell the item. Can you believe? Exactly 1 minute later, he texts me on my cell. Hi, Mr. Alex, can you please, let me know what's my balance? Yo, yesterday, I'm telling you, when that happened, I was shaking. I was like, don't you think that's a scary thing? I thought about him. I usually don't think about him. I don't even know what he looks like, honestly, because I saw him 2 years ago, one time. I don't know what he looks like.
You remember item better than.
I remember item, and I remember, somebody put the item away. But I do remember, that, and yesterday, by just thinking about him, thinking I'm going to call him, he texted me.
Right.
Now, it's not the first time that happened. I don't know if it happens to you. It's not the first time that happened to me. About a year ago, it happened with another customer who also bought something from me, 2 years before. And I just thought about him thinking, I wonder what he's up to. He's a police officer, so I had him saved on my phone, thinking maybe one day I'm going to need him, whatever, yeah. But one night I was thinking, I wonder, I haven't heard from him. What's up with him? The next morning he texts me, hey Alex, what's up? You hear? Which is a scary thought.
So you're sending the.
It's interesting. He's saying that the mind is very powerful. We underestimate the mind. And I really believe that because with our minds, we can influence people. I don't know if you remember one of the shiurs we had over here. We said that why does sometimes a person hate you? Remember we said that? Because you hate him. Meaning you don't know who he is. But he comes in and all of a sudden you're thinking, who's this dork? Who's this retard? You never spoke to him, you don't know his name, but in your mind, you have this thing where I don't like the guy. You know, sometimes a person could come to you.
I know exactly what you mean. Sometimes you get the patient that you already know is a troublemaker.
Oh,
But
you-
what he
no, no, no.
does,
One
he
second, one
does,
second.
Tells you.
He says, "Do you know?"
I see him.
Listen, listen,
Now you see him.
listen to what one of the books said like that. I don't remember if it was Michtav Eliyahu, whatever. He says that by you thinking bad of the person, he's thinking bad about you. Yes.
So what do you do?
We're talking about just thoughts. You know what we do? We always have to look and think about the person, whoever he is, in a good way. A lot of times that happens with spouses. Spouse is bothered by somebody, right? Male, you know what, a wife to the husband, husband to the wife. And she doesn't want to tell you, but what do you think? You're thinking in your mind, what's wrong with her? Not normal?
What about if Hashem sends you signals that this patient is not for you?
Oh, so
Right, avoid it.
you know what you should
And
do?
then if you take your advice,
You know,
on,
no.
he's
If
not, let me
listen,
think.
if you feel this patient is not for you, you have the 100% right to say, "I'm sorry, but I'm not taking any more new patients." But for you to think bad about the person and allow that other person then to hate you because you hate them, that's a problem. You hear what I'm saying?
Right.
It's not easy. It's not easy. It's easy to say, but it's not easy to control. You understand? Huh? I know.
So let's say we're sitting warning right now, right?
Very
And
good.
No person
Yes.
comes in and start talking
Yes,
nonsense.
yes.
And you say, well, what kind of crazy?
You're right,
crazy
you're
thing
right.
about you? It's
But
okay.
we're talking about when people don't say anything. A lot of times
You don't say nothing.
people don't say anything. We just
How
see
do you
them
see them?
and we're thinking, I don't like that guy.
Wow.
And we learned that what? He now doesn't like you. Why? Because inside mentally, you sent him a signal, I don't like you. So we have to work on this whole mental thing. But he's saying
Why the person should hit another person by the look?
forget about the why. You're asking a question
No,
that
I just wanna know.
it
Why
happens.
should-
It happens. What? You never hated somebody, or
Chemistry.
you never liked somebody because of the way he is?
By the look.
Maybe he's arrogant. Maybe he's walking
But
around
you
like
already know who he is.
you don't know who he is. You don't know who he is. You don't know who he
How
is.
you gonna know person by the look?
Mano Cohen, this is not a discussion we're recording.
No.
I'm gonna personally give you an example later after the thing. But what he's trying to say is that our minds are very powerful. And our minds can be able to control our heart. For instance, you know what a Down syndrome person is, right? Imagine the Down syndrome person only knows one word, it's a bad word. And he says it to you. Are you gonna be upset at him? No, not at all. You should know. Not at all. No. Because your brain tells you what? Your brain tells you he's a sick person, therefore don't listen to him. But what if a normal person like you, who I know, one second. Okay, I'm talking now.
Okay.
1 second. What if a normal person like you, just because you look normal doesn't mean you're normal.
Right.
You should know that.
Right.
Just because we see people that are normal looking, it doesn't mean that mentally they're normal. So therefore, we could honestly say that 50% of people are not normal. So therefore, your brain, when he tells you something stupid, is supposed to tell you, don't listen to him. He's not normal. Don't get upset at him. That's it. That's why he's saying your brain should be controlling your heart, not your heart should be controlling your brain, even though he's normal.
Right.
You understand? Back in the days, I used to tell people that used to have a problem. I used to listen. Just look at him as Down syndrome person. That's it. No, seriously. Hey, but he's like, but he's not Down syndrome. I said, you're right. Look at him as if he is, because when you know that he's Down syndrome, game over.
Most of the reaction comes when there's some witnesses, like somebody publicly humiliated.
You're
and
right,
then you look
but
at
please
everybody. I
don't
have to
give
do
me
something
don't
about
give
it.
me that, because sometimes when we're alone with our spouses, the reaction is very mean.
Spouses, this you feel.
Also,
you feel like you
why?
owe this person.
Why?
That's wrong.
Why? So therefore he says control. Yeah? He says to
His
illustrate.
spouse is always
Yeah.
as you-
He says
you
to
feel like
illustrate.
you own.
If one person insults another, human nature is such, especially if he's if the offender is a very sensitive person, that he will be pained and saddened by the other person's words. But a person can train himself to ignore words like these as though he did not hear them. We could do that. We're not listening to this Down syndrome person. We hear him, but we don't listen. Why? He's a shote. Yeah? You can't get upset at him. Same thing, the same way you have to act with another person. Since all the distress comes by these words stem only from the ruminating over them, if he chooses not to give them thought, he will not feel bad. You know, 1 second. Most of the problems, you know what happens? you hear something, or somebody says something to you, or somebody did something to you, and in our heart and in our mind, we replay. How could he have said that to me? I don't understand. Who does he think he is? And we replay it. Sometimes a simple comment, we make it into a devastating situation in our hearts and in our minds.
Right.
So that's what he's saying. He's saying, don't do that. Don't do that. Somebody, take it and throw it out. Again, it's not easy. We are learning here not how to do it. We're learning that that's what you're supposed to do. The how to do, you have to learn Torah, you have to learn Musar on a daily basis, you have to understand that, things come from Hashem, these words were not him, he was chosen like Shimi ben Gera who said it to David HaMelech. David HaMelech said, no, don't get upset, it's Hashem talking to me, meaning all these things we have to learn eventually and understand these things, right? At this point we're saying that there is a way to not listen to the other individual. If he chooses not to give him thought, he will not feel bad. Don't think about it. He said something stupid, out. You hear? This is simply an example, but in every situation, a person has an incredible power to choose to be strong and behave in the most perfect way by utilizing his intellect, right? What don't you like to eat? Give me an example. What don't you like to eat? Chaladetz, okay. Yeah, in English, I want to say chaladetz. It's cow feed when you cook, or chicken you cook, and then you put it in the refrigerator and it becomes like a little bit solid, right? You know why you choose not to eat it? Because you chose not to eat it.
Yeah.
You hear? But so same thing, he says, just how you choose not to eat, not to go, not to... That's same thing. It's your choice. You chose to be upset at the situation. Why? You could have not. As is with the Down syndrome person. You hear? We're always going to use the Down syndrome person because 99.9% of the people are not going to get upset at Down syndrome person. You hear? It says this, the Sefer HaChinuch discusses the issue of how the Torah demands us not to be envious of someone else's possession. You know what the Torah says? Don't be jealous of him. So he's saying the Torah can mandate external actions, but how can he mandate feelings? Like if the Torah says don't eat this, I can understand. Why? Because I have to take it and eat it. But when he says don't be jealous, that's emotion. How does he want me to control my emotions? The Torah really feels that I'm able to control my emotions? Well, guess what? Yes. If the Torah is saying that, it means there is this possibility of control. Because if there wasn't, the Torah wouldn't mention anything like that. You hear? So it says, the Chinuch establishes that every person does indeed have control over his feelings and desires and can actually use his mind to choose that which he desires and that which he has no interest in. This obviously takes work, but we see from the words of the Chinuch how much power we indeed have in controlling our thoughts and emotions and desires. They also point to the potential greatness that is in our power to achieve. You hear? Since the Torah mentions these things, guess what? The Torah knows that you're able to do it. Yeah. That we don't know, that we don't want to do it, that's a different case. You hear? A person, he has cake in front of him that's very fattening, this and that, and he has some healthy one, right? A person that controls, he says, no, it's not for me. He goes for this. A person that doesn't want to control, what does he do? No, I'm going to eat this. You hear?
You mentioned food is a little bit easier. Emotions is different.
Oh, so you know what? Yeah. For you, food was easier. But for a lot of people, food is very hard. For them, emotions is easier. So it depends on who we're talking about. You hear? You're right. So all these things are very hard. And that's why we have to be able to educate ourselves and practice with smaller things so that when big things come, we don't get upset at them. You hear? Small things means some small things bother us here, there. We shouldn't get upset. We should say, it's okay. And then when big things happen, when somebody like majorly embarrasses you, like you said, you also calm. And you gotta admit, there are people that are calm. How are they so calm?
A lot of them are just born like that.
Oh, maybe they worked on themselves?
Maybe, but...
You hear him say? And if they're born, it's okay, because Hashem does give a little power to certain people, a little less power to other people. But you know what? All of us can come up to that line of being able to learn and take it to heart and really control our feelings with our mind. Baruch Adonai Olam. Amen.